Well, you ready for the top five movies of 1983?
I hope so.
You got the list ready?
Yes, I got to listen. It's numbered.
Very nice. Okay. Well, I think you started last time, so I'll go get this one out of the way because I know you're going to have no input on it. Uh, it's my number five is Zelig. Are you familiar with this movie?
Now,
I knew you wouldn't be because it's directed by Mr. Woody Allen. But I actually think this would be one that you would enjoy because it has a lot of history to it. Um, I can't remember when the movie is set, but the gist of it is Woody Allen plays this guy who's like a chameleon, and he whoever he's talking to or next to, he kind of like takes on both their persona and how they look. So like if he's next to a black person, he turns black, and there's a lot of funny moments, but it has some interesting psychology to it too, because like he falls in love with his therapist, who I believe is Diane Keaton, of course, and she
surprise, surprise,
she comes to the conclusion that, or maybe it was Mia Farrow. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah. But she comes to the conclusion that he's like a people pleaser, basically. And that's why he wants to just like take on the traits of everyone he's next to. But it's also like this weird phenomenon that so he becomes famous because he just turns into all these people that he's next to. So he even like becomes a sports hero at one point because he's hanging out next to the Yankees or something. But so he's put into all these historical moments, almost like a Forrest Gump kind of thing, but different. So anyway, that's my five.
Okay.
So what about you?
My number five is one of your favorites,
Okay.
Return of the Jedi.
Ah, yes, that's definitely higher on my list.
I only put it at number five to get rid of it because we've discussed this many times.
Yes. And I know you don't rank it as high as other Star Wars movies, mainly because of the Ewoks, right?
No, it's better than a lot of the other Star Wars movies.
Right. Well, in comparison
And,
to the original trilogy.
right, and better than what is to come
Yeah,
after this one.
right. Yeah, I agree with you on all that. And I mean, really, the original trilogy, it holds up as far as being of that caliber. It's no Empire Strikes Back, but
Yeah,
um,
I mean, it had a lot of good, decent scenes.
yes.
No, the only part that troubles me with the movie is the Ewoks.
I love the Ewoks, man. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with me being a kid at the
Yeah,
time.
and actually, I was thinking about the movie, and it reminded me of another movie.
Uh-huh.
Who were also cute and cuddly,
Okay.
and then turned into these
Ah,
ferocious warriors.
the Gremlins.
The
Yeah.
Gremlins, yes, it
Yeah.
reminded me somewhat of that.
That makes sense because they came out not too far apart, and as you said, like the Ewoks were kind of warriors at the end of the movie. Like
Yes, a little
that's
insane, more like berserkers than warriors.
yeah. But I love when they're taking on the Empire, basically, like taking out stormtroopers with chopped down trees and stuff, and
Yeah,
screaming "ah yeah" and all that stuff. So great, man. But more than that though, like yeah, there's so many iconic scenes. Like the whole thing with Jabba's palace is classic.
right.
um the sail barge assault,
Yes,
we would listen to that theme a lot.
all those, were excellent. I mean, the rest of the story was really good. You
Yeah,
know, it concluded, the thing with his father,
yeah.
trying to turn him back to the good side.
That's one of the best moments in the whole franchise, really, of
Right,
his father ultimately turning on the Emperor to save his son.
right. We find out that Leia is his sister, so
Right,
now there's really no romance between, you know, Luke
right.
and his sister, so that leaves it open for
Han Solo to,
this, right,
officially be the guy.
right,
Yeah,
and they finally get to kiss,
yep.
you
And
know,
then you've got Admiral Akbar, all these other side characters that were interesting toys. Uh,
yes,
who's the other guy? I forget his name, but
the
Lando
little guy.
Calrissian's sidekick. That
Oh yeah, that guy.
he's so weird looking.
Yeah, all right. And then there was the little guy too. That sat next to Akbar.
Oh, you mean that's sat next to Jabba, the little
Yeah,
tiny guy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of interesting creatures. So very good. Well, yeah, that's considerably higher on my list. But
the
yeah.
problem I had with this year
Hmm.
is there is so many great movies this year. It
Yeah.
is like it. Not only is it hard to pick them, it's hard to even rate them.
Yeah, that's true.
Which ones you would even, rank higher?
Yeah, because like, okay, my number four is a classic of all time. And so I'm kind of surprised I didn't rank it higher looking at my list now, but it's Scarface.
I knew you were going to do Scarface.
Yeah. Did you not put it on your list?
No, I did not because I knew you would put it on. So that would give us another movie to talk about.
Yeah. Brian De Palma.
Another Pacino.
Yeah, Pacino, baby, which I mean, when you think about his performance in this movie, it may not be one of his best movies, but it's one of his best performances because I mean, he's not even Cuban, but I mean, damn, you would think he is watching this movie. I mean, he really sinks his teeth into this role in a way that's just like I mean, to this day, you've got people like making T-shirts out of the character and stuff because it's so over the top. The whole, I mean, just so many iconic quotes and parts. The "say hello to my little friend" thing at the end, and just throughout the movie, it's like you can't take your eyes off him. So you got other great like Michelle Pfeiffer, I think was more or less not so well known, and at the time she was great. Robert Loggia playing the boss that he takes down. Um, what's the guy? F. Murray Abraham plays one of the dudes that ends up getting killed, like being hung from a helicopter. All the death scenes are
Does
very
he ever
interesting.
play anything other than a villain, that guy?
Yeah, yeah, kind more or less. I think that's true. But yeah, Brian De Palma, this was like his real big breakout as a director, I think. Even though he had done Carrie and stuff, like this is what really solidified him as being one of the greats. So yeah, you got to have it, man. I mean, it's a classic.
I agree,
So
it's a classic. And it deserves to be on the list. But like
yeah,
I said, there are so many movies.
yeah, oh yeah. So what's your number four?
My number four is Flashdance.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That I'm very surprised about that.
Why? It reminded me like it was a Rocky movie, only with, about somebody striving to be, a dancer and
Yeah,
going to, a dance academy.
I suppose so. Yeah.
And
I think I've only seen it
it had
once.
that, it had that, that that song at the end with the dancing and stuff.
What a feeling.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was just like Rocky running up the stairs at the end.
Yeah.
Going, yeah, it was. I mean, this movie made $200 million.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I guess at that at that time I wasn't as into it, but I could see that it was a huge phenomenon because I remember yeah, the soundtrack was great. You had all the I'm a maniac, maniac, and then you had even Charlie Brown, Snoopy had like a spin-off,
yeah,
Flash Beagle or something.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it was an uplifting thing. It was about
Yeah.
fulfilling your dreams.
Right, right. I can't remember the actress's name, but
That was Jennifer Beals.
that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Nouri was her boss,
Uh-huh.
and he also was had a romantic interest, and also he helped her get the final audition
Right.
that she wasn't really eligible for because when she looked at the list of things, the resume that she had to fill out to get accepted to the thing, they wanted to know all the other places that she danced and stuff.
Right, right.
The other amazing scene in this movie too was when she did that dance at the bar, where
Mhm.
she pulled the cord and the water came down on her.
Oh, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, iconic indeed.
yeah, exactly.
All
there was
right,
many,
now I see where you're going with.
there,
Yeah.
there was many stills of that shot.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it was
Very good.
also about succeeding,
Mhm.
about failing.
Right.
Her girlfriend wanted to be a skater, and didn't make it.
Right, right. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, this is going to be an interesting list at the end
Yeah,
of it.
very interesting list.
So I think my number three you'll probably have on your list as well. It's a comedy that is very timely right now, actually. Trading Places.
Actually, that did not make my list.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Because I know you love this movie.
yes,
Uh,
it was a really good comedy movie.
yeah, Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, which
Right.
coming right off of 48 Hours, which we just talked about.
Yeah,
Murphy pretty much plays himself, but Aykroyd plays, he does so good as like basically a wasp,
yeah,
trader that I just love. Like he wakes up in the morning and gets the newspaper and just says pork bellies. And, he's like, his character immediately. And then you got Don Amici and the other Bellamy, the two old guys are great
yeah.
as,
It was a great movie. And
yeah.
then and even Aykroyd when he goes to the rags part,
Yes.
he's a bum and all this stuff, and his girlfriend, like
Yeah. Ophelia.
yeah, right, and stuff.
Uh, yeah, she was, that was a great breakout role for her too, man.
And I still don't understand what they did with the orange juice.
Yeah.
How they made all this money. I still, to this day, for how many
Well,
times I've seen it, I
well, that's
still don't
what,
understand.
yeah, I think it actually, this is why I said it's timely. It reminds me of the current GameStop situation with the stock market where, they're taking advantage of, well, with this situation, it's the hedge fund guys there who were short selling and them doing the opposite. It's kind of like that. I get, but I think the opposite, where they were shorting the orange juice market because they knew the insider information.
Yeah, they had
Uh,
the inside information because they got the
yeah,
orange juice report.
right, right. But yeah, it's so
And,
satisfying
and
at
then
the
they
end.
knocked Don Amici right out of his box and all this other stuff.
Yeah, when Amici's freaking out at the end, it's so great, and the other guy has the heart attack, uh, and then there's also the satisfying thing with the guy. who always plays jerks in every movie, who ends up in the gorilla cage from the train. See, there's so many great parts, man. Also the guy who plays Denholm Elliott, who's in Raiders of the Lost Ark as the butler. He's awesome. All the side characters. One of John Landis's greatest movies, I think. So yeah, I had to have it on there. So now I'm really interested to see the diverging lists here. So what's your number 3?
It's going to be very hard when you start doing the top 5.
I know.
My third one is Tom Cruise, Risky Business.
I thought about that one.
Yeah.
But it's not one that I go back to that much. But definitely a good choice.
Yes, definitely. It is, Cruise is average student. Dad wants him to get to Princeton. He has no idea, clue about, studying for it or anything like this. Right. Parents go away. He's there like drinking. We had that big scene in his underwear where he slides across the floor.
Yep.
What the hell was he saying?
Old-time rock and roll. Yeah.
Right. Old-time rock and roll. And then he gets hooked up with this prostitute.
Right.
Rebecca
De Mornay.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
De Mornay. And gets into this class with her hooker.
The pimp guy, yeah.
She steals his mother's egg.
Yeah. All kinds of trouble ensues. The Porsche ends up sinking.
Into the water, right? So now he needs money. So now they throw a party with all the prostitutes to make money and stuff like that. And in walks, of course, the Princeton guy to evaluate. Admission to Princeton University.
Exactly. Yeah.
Such
an insane movie.
Gets involved in the party and.
Yeah. It's got the iconic line. The guy from Revenge of the Nerds, his friend, who says, "Sometimes you just gotta say, what the."
This is cable. We can get away with it.
That's right. Yeah. Classic, man. Yeah, good choice.
Right. Then the scene, of course, with him in the train with Rebecca.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Indeed. All right. So my number 2 is Return of the Jedi. We finally got to that. So what is yours?
My number 2 was War Games.
I glossed right over that one. But another good movie. Yeah. Another good choice. Matthew Broderick's breakout role.
Right. Yes.
Yep. Classic tale of anti-war through computers.
Yeah. It turns out that the United States, especially NORAD, is worried that the guys ain't going to push the button.
Right.
When it comes time for them to push the button. So they decide to computerize it.
Yeah.
And then comes Broderick, who's, likes to break into things. He found this place. He thought it was a game company.
Yep.
And it turns out it's the Whopper.
Yeah. I love how, even though the movie now is kind of dated, it's fun to see those old computers where it's just the screen and the green letters on it, And he was just wanting to play some games. He was a troubled student, giving himself good grades in the computer system.
All those things that a hacker would normally do.
Right.
And what does he do? He starts a nuclear war.
Yeah, accidentally.
It's on the
Yeah,
brink of, and now he has to try to stop it. And the
right,
only way he can do it is to get the guy that originally wrote the program
right. Yes.
to stop the program.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really, it gets pretty interesting actually too, with trying to figure out what the guy's password is and
Right.
why. And then Ali Sheedy plays his girlfriend, and they're on the run, pretty much throughout half the movie. So yeah, it was a good one. I liked War
And the
Games.
only way to save the world was to play a game of
Chess.
no, tic-tac-toe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm thinking chess because I remember the computer saying, "Would you like to play a game of chess?" Yeah, yeah. That's right. Tic-tac-toe,
Right.
which is unwinnable, right?
That's right. The only way to win is not to play at all.
That's right. Yep. It has a good moral to the
That's
story.
right. The moral to the story.
So speaking of a story with morals, my number one, which I'm interested to see if you concur on this or not, A Christmas Story.
Now,
I had to do it just because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. I know we've talked about it on the Christmas episode, but
yes.
so many short stories that the author wrote that made it into all these vignettes of the guy's childhood. And I don't know. Actually, now that I think of it, I'm not sure what all the morals were, other than don't shoot your eye out. But so much hilarity ensues.
Right. And he was an expert on soap testing.
Yes, exactly.
Tasting, not testing. Tasting.
Yeah, palm olive, I think, was his favorite.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that whole scene is great too. When she he blames his cursing on his friend, and then
Right.
she calls up the other kid's mom.
Rather than telling the truth and saying it was his father.
Right. The master in obscenities, which I love in the movie. They keep it PG by like anytime he is cursing, it just sounds like total nonsense gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then of course he says, "Oh, fudge."
Yeah.
Only I didn't say fudge. Oh man, but yeah, when she calls the other mom on the line and you hear her start beating the hell out of her kid, it's just like every little thing in that movie is classic, man. When another thing we didn't talk about the last time was when she dresses up the little kid for winter, and she just keeps putting on pile. He can't even put his arms down.
Right.
Oh man.
And then he falls down in the snow and he can't get up.
Yeah. So great. And then the scene where they meet Santa Claus, and he's like, scaring all these kids and then putting them down the slide. It's just classic.
I know. And as it slows down, it just as he was sliding down, he finally tells him that he wants the BB rifle. And
yeah.
I'll shoot your eyes out.
Yes. Oh, one of the other little things in that movie that gets me every time is when they have those neighbors with all the dogs, and the dogs eat their turkey, and then the dad, he freaks out to the point where he talks like in this high pitched voice, and he's like, "Son of a bitch!" Darren McGavin was so good in that, man.
I know. He always had problems with those neighbors' dogs.
The Bumpus Hounds, that was their names. So then they end up having Christmas turkey at the Chinese restaurant.
Right.
With the fa ra 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 ra. So many classic scenes, man. I love it. So that's why I had to have it at 1.
Well, that's what Barbara and I used to do when you went down to Georgia.
Yeah.
And then Barbara's kids went up to see their father. We used to have Christmas dinner at the
Chinese place. Yeah.
Chinese place.
Did they ever sing for you?
No, they never sang. No, we never got.
Well, now I'm really curious as to what your number one is. I have a guess, but I'm not sure if this will be it.
What's your guess?
Is it a comedy?
Yes.
Is it Vacation?
Yes.
It's my honorable mention.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Chevy Chase.
Yep.
Imogene Coco as the grandmother.
Oh, yes.
That was an interesting part. The whole premise is that he wanted to spend a vacation with his family. So instead of flying out to Wally World,
yeah.
right? They lived in Chicago, so they'd have to go over half the country. He decides to go by car.
Yep.
Yes. And of course, he does have car trouble. He gets into other little incidents and stuff. Then Quaid is in this one too.
Right.
And that's where they have to take the grandmother to another one of the relatives in Tucson, Arizona.
Don't they leave her on the roof of the car like after she died or something? Or
she winds up dying.
Yeah.
And then they put her on top of the car with a tarp on her.
Yeah, right.
And then they get to Arizona, right? And nobody's there, so they leave her on the porch, and they put a note on her.
Right. That's so messed up, man. But yeah, I love it. I love when they see the Grand Canyon, and then they look at it for like 10 seconds, and he's like, "Okay, that's good," because he skipped out on the bill or whatever. It's just like one thing after another, man.
Yeah, and the thing with the dog.
Yeah.
He forgets to untie the dog from the car.
Right.
And of course, the dog is, and he always got in trouble with the dog anyway. He had to take it for a walk and all these other things. Then he gets berated by the police officer for killing the dog and animal rights.
So many things. There's a swimming pool scene with Christy Brinkley where he's skinny dipping.
Skinny dipping in the pool and then gets caught.
Right.
But he saw her like 2 times, maybe driving in the car and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
Almost crashing the car. There was just like so many parts. Then they get to Wally World.
That's the best.
And it's closed. Right?
Yeah. Oh, when he totally loses his mind, it's always the best.
And John Candy's the cop, right?
Right.
And so they force him to open it.
Right.
On the roller coaster with his kid and stuff like that.
And he's holding the gun on John Candy as they're going on the rides.
Right. It's only a BB gun, but it looks like it's a real gun.
Yeah, right. So classic.
And then the guys in black come.
Yeah.
With the owner of the thing. And,
yeah, classic Griswold movie. The one that started it all. I like Christmas Vacation even better, but yeah, this is...
Yeah, I agree with you. Christmas Vacation is better. And then, of course, it was European Vacation and Vegas Vacation. And I don't think they were as good as the first two.
Yeah. This is absolutely a classic, and I'm glad you put it on. So that was my honorable mention. What was your honorable?
My honorable mention, you know that I like... historical pieces, right?
Yes, of course.
So, and you know why I don't like some of the historical pieces?
Sure.
Okay. Well, The Right Stuff.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Movie was 3 hours and 12 minutes long.
Right.
But it was about the founding of the space program and the training that the astronauts went through. I mean, I remember I was either in 6th or 7th grade at MacLeod Mary School, John. You remember MacLeod?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not there anymore, but they pulled everybody from the classrooms and we were watching Alan Shepard on his taking off on the first what was it? Mercury,
Uh-huh.
the Mercury astronauts,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we watched it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was beginning of the space program. I
Yep.
was, like only a kid in school and stuff like that.
Right.
I found out that there was a person in that movie that I didn't realize that he was in it.
Yeah.
And he not only that, he was the narrator in the movie.
Oh, who's that?
Levon Helms.
From the band?
Yes, from the band.
Really? I
Yeah,
didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah. He was in the beginning of the movie when Chuck Yeager was going to ride into the X-1.
Okay.
And then he went horseback riding the next evening, and then he like fractured his ribs, and then he couldn't get into the door.
Ah.
He couldn't lock the door. He could get in. He couldn't lock the door. So Helms gave him a broken broom handle that he could use as a wedge to lock the door
Oh, okay.
in the X-1. And that was the part that he played in the movie.
Interesting. Okay. Good bit of trivia there.
A little fun fact in the movie.
Nice. Okay. Well,
they did all those things. They showed you how they tortured them and stuff.
right.
Like they gave them an enema, and they had to wait, I don't know, a long time before they were allowed to go to the bathroom and stuff.
Oh, wow. Crazy. So this is a list that we only have one in common. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So I just looked up A Christmas Story has a 3.7 and Vacation has a 3.5. So I think Christmas Story is going to be number one and Vacation at 2.
The way we're going, I think we should rate them all and then do it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, so if those are 1 and 2, Return of the Jedi, since that was my 2, obviously, and you also had it, would be 3. And then War Games was your second highest, so that'll be 4. So now it's our 3 versus 3, Risky Business versus Trading Places. Man, this is crazy. Let's see, Trading Places. So Scarface doesn't even make it. Nor does Flashdance. So Trading Places has a 3.6 and Risky Business. I have a feeling this is going to be close. 3.4. So Trading Places makes it. Yes. I'm happy now. If that didn't make it, I was going to just quit. So, all right. So the official reading, the best movies of 1983. Here we go. At number 5, Trading Places. At number 4, War Games. At number 3, Return of the Jedi. At number 2, National Lampoon's Vacation. And at number 1, A Christmas Story. Yeah. I dig it. As always, we got a mixture of comedy and some sci-fi and not much else.
Yeah, I mean, at least the years that we covered so far, there's been a lot of good comedies.
Oh, yeah.
And mostly because of Eddie Murphy.
Oh, yeah. He was on a roll at that point.
Yeah. It was like...
We haven't even got to Beverly Hills Cop yet.
No, we have not.
But that's coming soon, I believe. I can't
remember. And then we had the vacation movies.
Yep, exactly. So cool. Well, good list. We'll see you guys on the next one for 1984. We'll see how many comedies we have on that one. So check out some of our other stuff, and we'll see you then. Love you.
Love you too.
All right, bye.
All right.